Are you guys ready to learn to crochet a new stitch? Super quick, super easy. One row repeat and looking the same on both sides. Who could ask for anything more? Welcome to my channel. It's Bagoday Crochet. Here we talk about everything that is yarn and crochet related. So today I do have a stitch tutorial for you, and my, the use you could use this stitch for is endless, really, if you think about it. So this is the double crochet duo stitch. Super simple, super easy. You know how to double crochet? I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so if you look at it, it is a one row repeat. Yes, and it does look the same on both sides. Yes, another plus. Look at that gorgeous yarn too. Nice ombre effect on that. But you know what? The stitch would look good in any yarn that you choose and whatever you decide to make. So as you can see, it is a pretty solid stitch. I'm going to give it about a 90% solid there on the solid stitch scale. That's a new scale I've come up with. I put my hand behind it and I give it a rating. Now 90% is pretty dang good. So you could use this for whatever you wanted. I don't think that it's an extremely heavy stitch. So if you wanted to make like tops or anything out of it, you know, it's not light, but it's not like heavy. Like if you made a top out of it, it's not going to weigh you down. I think it just keep you warm. Same as a blanket, it keep you nice and warm. Scarves. You can use it for kitchen items like hot pads and whatnot, but make sure you do use cotton or some type of animal like wool or something for that. Don't use acrylic. Anything. Let's do it. Enough with the talk, right? I just like that green ombre. Gorgeous. All right, let's move this to the side. All right, for this particular stitch tutorial that I'm getting ready to show you, I did use a red heart. The good old red heart ombre, which is a medium weight number 4, 100% acrylic, and the color I used is called a green apple. Green apple, but you use whatever yarn you want, and any weight that you want, and any color that you choose, and any fiber that you wish, depending on what you're making with the double crochet duo. And for the purpose sample here, that stitch I am using a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. So this stitch, the double crochet duo, is made in any odd number of stitches. So we're going to go ahead and start with a slip knot on our hook, just like that. Beautiful. And then we're going to chain in odd numbers until you get to your desired length. Doesn't matter, whatever you're making. Whether it be a scarf, you know, I usually do my scarves 6, 8, 10 inches. Hey, I even do them 12 sometimes. It really just depends. Blankets, you know, you got to do quite a few more chains for a blanket, you know, but whatever it is you're making, you chain in an odd number until you get to your desired length. All right, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, so on a lot of my stitch tutorials, I will start with a base row of single crochet or double crochet. I'm not going to do that this time. So we're just going to do we're going to be working a double crochet 2 together. Never done that before? That's okay. I'll show you how to do it right now. So we're going to do the double crochet 2 together, which is worked over 2 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to start the first one in the 4th chain from our hook. So we don't count this when it's on our hook. We go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to yarn over and go into that 4th chain, and we're going to draw up a loop. And you see we got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and that leaves 2 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. Got 4 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2. We got 3 loops that remain on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 3, and you just did a double crochet 2 together. Now this chain right here on the end, he counts as just a regular double crochet by himself, all right? So now we're going to start the repeat here of row 1. We're going to do double crochet 2 togethers all the way across, but we're going to start the next one right here in the same stitch that we just finished this one in. So we're going to yarn over, go into this exact same stitch, and we're going to draw up a loop. 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go to the first 2, which leaves us with 2 loops. We're going to yarn over and go into the next empty stitch, draw up a loop. Got 4 loops now. We're going to yarn over and go to the first 2, which leaves us 3, and we're going to yarn over and go through all 3. That was a double crochet 2 together again. That's where let's do it again. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to do the double crochet 2 together, but we're going to start the first one in this right here in this stitch that we just finished the last one in. So we're going to yarn over, go into that stitch and draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. And then we're going to yarn over and go into the next empty stitch and draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, which will give us 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. And there you did another double crochet 2 together. And this is what we're going to work all the way across. You ready? Yarn over, and we're going to go back into that same stitch that we just finished it. We're going to draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and go into the next empty stitch right here, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 3. Look at that. Let's do it again. Yarn over and go into the stitch that we just finished in and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next empty stitch and draw up a loop. Going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, which will always leave us 3 that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. Now we're going to repeat this same pattern all the way until we get near the end of the row. All right, yarn over, go back into the same stitch we just finished and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through those first 2 loops, yarn over and go into the next empty stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, which will always leave us 3 left on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through the remaining 3 like that. All right, I'm going to keep going, and I'll meet back up with you near the end of the row. All right, I've made it to the end of my row. Now, this is a stitch that's going to take several rows for it to start to lay flat. You know, it'll take, so if it's looking funky for a while, you know, it's going to do that. So I just did my last double crochet 2 together, and I have 1 stitch left. I'm going to do a 1 double crochet into that last stitch like that. There it is. Okay, now we're going to start the repeat row. Are you ready for this? Yes, we're ready for this. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to do the double crochet, just 1 double crochet right back into this very first stitch. So that chain 1 we just did does not count as a stitch. So yarn over and go right back into this very first stitch and work 1 double crochet. All right, now we're going to start the double crochet 2 togethers. We're going to do the first one, and we're going to start it right back in this very first stitch that we just did that double crochet in. So we're going to yarn over, go into that stitch and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. 3 loops will remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. And we're going to do this all the way across, the same as we did before, except we just started our first one here where we put our first double crochet this time. Again, yarn over, go back into that same stitch that we just finished our last one in, and we draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next empty stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. 3 loops will always remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. Again, yarn over and go back into that stitch we just finished in, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. 3 loops remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. So we're kind of just doing what we did on the row before. We just started a bit differently. Yarn over, go back into that same stitch that we just finished in, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go to the first 2 loops. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go to the first 2, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 3. So I'm going to continue this pattern until I get near the end of my row. So this is row 2, which is the repeat row for the entire pattern. Once you get this down, man, you can book it on this stitch, man. I'm talking like smoking real fast. And it's a nice solid stitch. All right, I'll meet back up with you the last stitch of our row. All right. I have made it to the end of row 2. I did my last double crochet 2 together, and I do have 1 stitch that remains. You will always have 1 stitch that remains. Go right into it and put a double crochet. And remember, I said this chain here counts as a double crochet. This is the only row that there'll be a chain here, but we'll just count it as a stitch, and you just double crochet into the last stitch, and that ends row 2, and that ends the repeat row. So for row 3, we're just going to repeat what we did for row 2. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we are going to double crochet right back into that very first stitch, and then we're going to start doing our repeat, our double crochet 2 togethers. We're going to yarn over, and our first one gets started in this very first stitch here that we just double crocheted into. Just like that. Back in the same stitch, next stitch, 3 remain, and just like that. We're going to work this all the way across. We're just repeating row 2. See how easy that is? It's super easy, super simple, super quick. Great practice for the beginner. Something super fun and quick for the advanced. You know how it goes. It's just one of those stitches, you know. It's got a lot going for it. All right, I'm going to show you one more time how to end this row, okay? All right, I come to the end of row 3. Remember, it's just a repeat of row 2. And you always have 1 stitch left. And what we do is just we just put 1 double crochet into that stitch. And that's it. You just keep repeating a row 2. Remember, I said it would take a few rows for it to start, you know. I guess it doesn't look bad now, but this is the one thing that you remember: when you end a row, it's 1 double crochet into the last stitch, okay? But when you start a row, you chain 1 and turn, and you put a double crochet into the first stitch. But you also start your double crochet 2 together into that same stitch. All right. So when you end a row, it's just a double crochet by itself. But when you start a row, it's the double crochet first, and then you do your double crochet 2 together. You start that in the same stitch. And other than that, I mean, I'll just let it speak for itself. It's quick. It's easy. When it's 1 row, it's pretty 90% solid. After a few repeats, you got something that looks gorgeous. So I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. It's free to subscribe. It does not cost anything. All my videos are completely free. And I have hundreds and hundreds, beyond hundreds and hundreds of all crochet tutorials. I have anything. I make stitch tutorials all the way up to, you know, everything in between. Blankets, cardigans, tops, baby items, anything you want. More than likely I have it, and multiples of them. So please hit that subscribe button. That's all I ask. And then if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up and a comment below. That always helps out. All right, I'll see you guys on my next vid. Take care. Bye, guys.